The military has released additional information about a shooting incident outside of Kirtland Air Force Base that left one airman dead. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office has provided an update on their ongoing investigation surrounding the deaths of Gene Hackman, his wife, and their dog. Through their work at the Entrepreneurial Institute of Northern New Mexico, 2 former inmates are helping those soon to be released from prison with workforce training and their reintroduction to society. Several bills are working their way through the roundhouse that look to address New Mexico's malpractice problem and help retain doctors for the state. And with Congress debating a spending bill that could heavily impact Medicaid, New Mexico's already fragile medical system could face the brunt of those cuts. Also, we recap college and high school sports action from the weekend. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. It's March 3rd, and I'll have more on those stories in a few moments, plus a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, we've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. We work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join us in our mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years.
Breon Teal Scott, a 28-year-old member of the 377th Security Forces Squadron at Kirtland Air Force Base, was fatally shot by his own unit after fleeing a traffic stop near the base's Truman Gate. The military confirmed he was armed at the time, but has not disclosed whether he fired his weapon. A Security Forces member was also injured in the incident. Teal Scott, who was facing a court-martial for domestic violence and drug-related charges, had recently requested a discharge under, quote, other than honorable conditions, and was set to leave the Air Force 2 days after his death. The Air Force Office of Special Investigations is handling the case, and a use of force review board will independently assess the shooting. His father, Sean Scott, a Marine veteran, is demanding answers, saying he has received condolences but little information from the military. Describing his son as a, quote, loved kid with a passion for music, Scott expressed deep regret over encouraging him to join the Air Force, believing it would have provided a safer path than military combat roles.
What hurt me the most was that I talked him into going in the Air Force because the Air Force use their brain, whereas the Marines, they use their brawn, and it's not much, so I wanted them to be safer, and I wanted them to learn, get a trade to use his brain. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like I said, me being in the Marines and combat, I didn't want that for my son.
Scott said his son had, quote, $1 million smile and loved to joke. In recent years, Teal Scott pursued a passion for rapping, and after his discharge, Scott thought his son might join him in a business venture to start an energy drink company. Authorities are investigating the deaths of 2-time Oscar winner Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy Arakawa, and their dog, whose bodies were discovered in their Santa Fe home on February 26th. Evidence suggests they may have died days or even weeks earlier, with Santa Fe County Sheriff Adon Mendoza disclosing that Hackman's pacemaker's last event was recorded weeks earlier.
An initial interrogation was conducted of Mr. Hackman's pacemaker. This revealed that his last event was recorded on February 17th, 2025. I was advised that a more thorough investigation will be completed.
Law enforcement has not determined a cause of death, but initial tests have, quote, possibly ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning. Fire officials detected no traces of gas during multiple tests, and Arakawa's body was found decomposed with mummified hands and feet, indicating she had been dead for around 2 weeks. Pills were scattered around her body, but the couple had no visible injuries or signs of foul play. Their German Shepherd was also found dead in a closet, while the other 2 dogs were alive. The home's back door was open. Investigators are examining the couple's cell phones, health records, and home security footage to piece together a timeline. Autopsy and toxicology reports are pending and could take months to finalize. After serving time, Isaac Stork walked out of prison with a renewed sense of purpose thanks to the support of the Entrepreneurial Institute of Northern New Mexico. Founded by former inmates Fernando Ruiz and Ralph Martinez, the institute helps individuals like Stork transition back into society through culinary training and workforce programs.
And so all of them are they're near the door. And so they're excited, they're eager, they're motivated, they're excited, they're scared. Right? They're scared.
Institute co-founder Ralph Martinez explains how they connect with the program participants through shared experiences.
and for a whole lot of different reasons. But we use our backstories of the things that we've been through, and talking about where we're at now in life to connect with the individuals, because we come from the same place. We know the realities, right? And which makes them the connection a lot more stronger, if you ask me.
Programs like the Institute are crucial, as nearly 40% of released inmates return to prison. EINNM started in April and now runs 3 8-week prison cohorts per year, teaching professional and life skills to inmates nearing release. The demand is high, with over 100 inmates on the wait list. The initiative is gaining legislative support, with bills seeking $20 million to expand workforce reentry programs and transitional housing. Ruiz, who was once caught in the cycle of crime, turned his life around through culinary arts, later opening his Santa Fe restaurant, Escondido. He and Martinez have raised over $3 million for resources supporting reentry programs. Stork, who was inspired by their work, later joined their culinary program and now works at Escondido, successfully checking off key goals before his release.
5 days ago, I was locked up. I was told when I could use the restroom, like they have a particular time you're allowed to go shower, use the restroom, told when to get up, when to go to sleep, so for me to be out now, I feel liberated, like I'm independent, and then I have these two standing behind me, I thank God for these two guys, because my main worry was I knew that my first 60 days were the most critical, when you get out, you got to make sure that you have all your resources, because I understand what it is. It's I can have the blueprint and the foundation to build a house, but if I don't have the material, nothing going to go up. So these guys have actually made everything possible for me to have a smooth transition into society. It's cool.
Meanwhile, other inmates like Daniel Jojola and Chris, a life sentence prisoner, are finding hope through vocational programs, including HVAC training and dog rehabilitation. These initiatives offer not just skills, but a path towards stability, independence, and a second chance at life. In the final weeks of New Mexico's legislative session, lawmakers are debating a major overhaul to the state's Medical Malpractice Act, a move they say is necessary to address a critical shortage of healthcare providers. At the center of the debate is Senate Bill 176, which aims to curb malpractice litigation costs while keeping the current caps on damages intact. Supporters argue that New Mexico's high malpractice insurance rates, among the highest in the nation, are driving doctors away. In fact, the state has seen a 30% drop in primary care physicians in recent years, and across all specialties, the healthcare workforce faces significant shortages. Physicians and business groups blame a 2021 law that raised liability caps on malpractice cases and changed the way that settlements are paid. Under the current system, attorneys can seek large lump sum payments for estimated lifetime of medical costs instead of payments being made over time. Critics say this has made New Mexico a target for out-of-state malpractice attorneys, contributing to soaring insurance premiums. Senate Bill 176 proposes 3 major changes: returning to the old payment system where medical costs are covered over time rather than in a single payout. Bill supporters say this ensures long-term patient care, but opponents argue it benefits insurers and hospitals at patients' expense. The bill also looks to cap attorney fees at 25% for pretrial settlements and 33% for jury awards, aiming to limit legal costs. Critics warn this will discourage lawyers from taking smaller cases, making it harder for patients to seek justice. And finally, the bill would redirect 75% of punitive damages to a new patient safety improvement fund instead of awarding them entirely to plaintiffs. Some see this as an unconstitutional seizure of patient compensation, while supporters argue it would improve overall healthcare quality. The bill has drawn sharp criticism from trial lawyers and patient advocates who argue it weakens protections for those harmed by medical negligence. Albuquerque attorney Kathy Love warns that limiting payouts and capping attorney fees, quote, does nothing to deter bad behavior by healthcare providers. However, Senator Martin Hickey, a Democrat from Albuquerque, who is also a physician and a bill co-sponsor, insists that reform is urgent.
We're known all over the country as the worst place to practice medicine, and physicians are leaving, and finally people up here are acknowledging it.
With doctors leaving and patients waiting months for care, Hickey believes that tackling malpractice costs is the only way to make New Mexico a more attractive place for physicians. With bipartisan support from 22 lawmakers, House Bill 176 is expected to have its first hearing this week. Whether it passes will shape the future of New Mexico's healthcare system, whether by keeping doctors in the state or, as critics fear, by making it harder for patients to hold them accountable. New Mexico's already fragile healthcare system could face even greater strain if Congress moves forward with proposed Medicaid funding cuts, according to Dr. Vesta Sandoval, Chief Medical Officer for Loveless Health System. She also said cuts could worsen maternal care deserts, force smaller hospitals to close, and deepen the state's already ongoing shortage of medical providers.
And if we cut Medicaid further, close facilities, you're going to see even more of a deficit of people leaving the state, providers leaving the state, and just not enough access for the patients in the state that are here. Right now, 73% of all women that are delivering in the state of New Mexico deliver and are covered by Medicaid. So we're talking about moms and babies, and we're talking about their health and their future health. And already, in New Mexico's maternal mortality rate is not where it should be, but we will expect to see those things get worse if we don't have appropriate coverage and if we don't have the way to provide care for those moms and those babies closer to their home.
The Republican-controlled Congress is working to finalize a budget that includes $2 trillion in spending cuts, while increasing tax cuts and the federal deficit. The House Budget Resolution passed Tuesday directs the House Energy and Commerce Committee to cut $880 billion over the next decade, with Medicaid expected to bear the brunt. For New Mexico, where more than 780,000 residents rely on Medicaid, the impact could be devastating. As Dr. Sandoval mentioned earlier, with 73% of births in the state being covered by Medicaid, making any cuts could be a direct threat to maternal and infant health. With one-third of the state lacking OB/GYN services, further Medicaid reductions could force more clinics to shut down, worsening the crisis. The state is already facing a severe provider shortage, with projections placing New Mexico among the top 3 with the worst deficits. Cuts could force rural hospitals to close, overwhelming urban hospitals, and forcing patients to travel longer distances for care. Additionally, home health care and nursing homes, which rely heavily on Medicaid, could suffer, impacting elderly and disabled residents. Representative Teresa Ledger Fernandez blamed President Donald Trump and the Republicans, saying their budget priorities are, quote, costing lives.
We can't afford them. New Mexicans cannot afford Trump and the Republicans. They are costing us lives, they're costing us health care, and they are going to cost us more every month.
However, New Mexico Republican Party Chairwoman Amy Barela dismissed these concerns as, quote, fear-mongering, arguing that Republicans are working to secure borders, strengthen the economy, and make Medicaid more efficient without harming beneficiaries. As Congress finalizes its budget, New Mexico's healthcare future hangs in the balance, with Medicaid at the center of a fierce political fight. If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on the Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal. You can check our show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription and keep up with all the latest news from New Mexico's leading news source. And in sports news, the New Mexico Lobos men's basketball team dominated Air Force 92-71, snapping a 2-game skid and maintaining their top spot in the Mountain West. Donovan Dent led the way with 23 points, while Nelly Jr. Joseph had a double-double with 14 points and 13 rebounds. The Lobos' aggressive defense forced 20 turnovers, turning them into 28 points. Meanwhile, the UNM women's basketball team staged a dramatic comeback against Fresno State, erasing a 22-point deficit to win 65-61. Paris Laurel led the charge off the bench with 18 points, securing the Lobos' first-round bye in the Mountain West tournaments. In high school hoops, New Mexico's district basketball tournaments wrapped up with several upsets. Albuquerque High and Academy boys fell at home despite top seeds, while Gallup's girls basketball team stunned #1 Kirtland Central in overtime. On the other hand, #1 ranked Volcano Vista's boys basketball team remained undefeated in state, cruising past Cleveland 83-60 behind Devin Luna's 26 points. Sandia's boys and girls basketball teams swept the District 2 and 5A titles, with Zaire Dabagoye stepping up late for the boys team in a 52-43 win over La Cueva. State tournament brackets are expected to be revealed soon. Meanwhile, at the Mountain West Indoor Track and Field Championships at the Albuquerque Convention Center, the University of New Mexico's women's track and field team clinched its first indoor conference championship title in a decade, powered by 3 record-breaking wins from freshman sensation Pamela Kosgei. She dominated the mile, 3,000-meter, and 5,000-meter events, setting meet records for the latter too. Despite her standout performance, she was edged out for Outstanding Track Performer of the Meet by San Diego State's Sakina Foote. On the men's side, UNM finished just 4 points shy of a championship, placing second behind Colorado State. Distance star Hoptum Samuel secured the Outstanding Track Athlete Award for the second straight year after a record-setting win in the the 3,000 and 5,000 meter. A surprise highlight came from Cam Watts, a UNM football cornerback, who stunned the competition by winning the 60-meter dash in 6.64 seconds, just his second race for the team. With spring football on the horizon, Watts plans to expand his sprinting repertoire in the outdoor season. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today you can expect sunny skies with a high near 58, and this evening isolated snow showers, mostly cloudy, with a low around 32. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. I'm Gino Gutierrez. The leading news will be back tomorrow.